Brewers outfielder Christian Yelich was good at baseball long before he ever stepped foot in Miller Park. In fact, he was a top 35 player in the entire country as a young player in high school and was named second-team All-American. Instead of going to college, Yelich decided to enter the upcoming MLB draft in the year 2010 and was selected 23rd overall by the Florida Marlins. Unlike the last player we discussed, there were incredibly high expectations for the 18-year-old first-round pick heading into his professional career. His next few seasons in the minor leagues proved those expectations to be just, winning Marlins Minor League Player of the Year in both 2011 and 2012. He earned himself a call up to join the newly named Miami Marlins in July of 2013. Yelich didn't take his foot off the brake going into his major league debut either, going 2 for 4, driving in 2 runs in a 4-2 Marlins win. Yelich's first full season in 2014 earned him a nice 7-year contract extension heading into the 2015 regular season. Even though he had a few injuries to work through during the rest of his tenure with the club, he still put up pretty good numbers for the rest of his time in Miami. That time, though, was up. Several months before the beginning of the 2018 regular season, Christian Yelich was headed to Milwaukee after a trade with the Brewers. The Marlins had gotten a pretty large return, some players you're starting to see bloom into young studs today like Jordan Yamamoto. I think it's safe to say that it would have been quite literally impossible for the Brewers to predict the kind of seasons their new outfielder was going to put up for them. I'm sure everyone already watching this video knows how good those 2 seasons were. More on that later. Now for the 1/1,000,000% that don't know, here's a sneak peek. In the span of 19 days in the latter half of his first season with the Brewers, Yelich hit his first career grand slam and became the 5th player ever to hit for 2 cycles in the same season, and the first to do it against the same team, all done in less than 3 weeks. Yelich got even better in 2019. He was stellar right out of the gate, joining only 5 other players to ever homer in each of his first 4 games. Now, Yelich's career overview isn't the most exciting thing in the world, but it's a good start to our journey into this analysis. An analysis centered around one gargantuan question. How did Christian Yelich turn from this into this? Yelich's first major award came after his first full season with the Miami Marlins in 2014, joining NL East rivals Juan Lagares and Jason Hayward representing the National League's Gold Glove winning outfield. He became the franchise's youngest and first outfielder to ever take home the honor. 2016 marked the first of 3 seasons he would take home a National League Silver Slugger award. I don't want to get too much into the stats until later on, but he saw a huge increase in power output from 2015. I'm talking a 200% kind of increase. He won the award during his first 2 seasons with Milwaukee as well, but honestly, what award hasn't he won with the Brewers? That Silver Slugger with the Marlins in 2016 was one of 2 major awards he took home during his 4+ seasons with the team. Compare that to the amount of honors he's received in his 2 years with the Brewers, that's nothing. After not making a single All-Star team with the Marlins, Yelich made his first 2 after being traded, including going deep in the 8th inning of his first one against Charlie Morton in Nationals Park. Like I said before, his trophy case has gotten a lot larger since joining the Brewers. An MVP award? Of course, after a historic performance in 2018. Had it not been for his injury, he probably would have easily won it again in 2019. With the Brewers, he's 2 for 2 for All-Star appearances, 2 for 2 for the Hank Aaron Award, 2 for 2 for Silver Sluggers, and most importantly, 2 for 2 for the NL batting crown. His 2018 win made him the first ever Brewer to do so. He most recently was named All-MLB Team Outfielder for the 2019 season as well. I'm getting giddy with excitement to break this all down in more detail, so let's crunch the numbers and try and explain how Yelich took his game to a completely different level. Before we discuss the cause of his career's evolution, let's discuss the effects of it. Here are a few plots highlighting Yelich's drastic increase in offensive output. Focusing in on 2018 and 2019, of course, you can see Yelich's numbers skyrocket. Actually, Yelich didn't really start putting up these kinds of numbers until after the 2018 All-Star break. He went into the break hitting .292 with 11 homers and 43 runs driven in. A fairly modest line. But in the second half, hitting .367, 25 homers, 67 runs driven in, propelling him to the MVP award. The first to second half split is felt most notably in looking at his slugging percentage and OPS. He slugged .459 before the break, .770 after it. His OPS was at .823 before the break and .1219 after it. It was in fact the latter half of the 2018 season where Christian Yelich became one of the game's most elite stars. In order to understand Christian Yelich's transformation, we need to study where he was before it. Yelich in 2015 led all major league hitters in ground ball percentage at 62.5% and had the lowest fly ball percentage at 15%. These should obviously be alarming numbers and should really put an emphasis on his changing after joining the Brewers. Now, of course, there are other factors that have helped Yelich along his new path, those being a serious ballpark change and the drastically increased number of home runs across the sport. According to Fangraphs, Marlins Park was close to dead last in terms of hitter friendliness between 2013 and 2017, and Miller Park was near the top of that list during the same period. WRC Plus is a good stat to utilize when trying to determine the external influence of a ballpark on a hitter's offense. For example, if someone were hitting at Yankee Stadium and someone else put up identical stats at Marlins Park, the hitter playing at Yankee Stadium would have a lower WRC Plus because of the hitter friendliness of Yankee Stadium. Now, taking a look at the stat, Yelich was in the top 5 in WRC Plus in 2018 and in the top 2 in 2019. If you're interested in his WRC Plus in 2017, please hold. 55th. He went from 55th in WRC Plus in 2017 to 5th in 2018 and to 2nd in 2019. Miller Park definitely had a non-zero influence on Yelich's turnaround, but it wasn't anywhere near its sole catalyst. I think we may find some answers in focusing on his approach at the plate. So, launch angle. You've probably heard Brian Kenny mention it 650 times on average on MLB Network, but does it play a role in this case? Here, you can see in 2016 his launch angle was at 2.5 degrees, 4.7 for both 2017 and 2018, and then 11.2 in 2019. I suspect his numbers before the 2018 All-Star break contributed to a similar launch angle from 2017. He went from being a predominantly ground ball hitter by Major League Baseball standards to a line drive hitter, which has helped him tremendously in the offensive department. To visualize that, here are balls in play with the same exit velocity and launch angle of 2016 Yelich. Here are balls in play with the same exit velocity and launch angle of 2019 Yelich. Pretty noticeable difference. In our last analysis, I mentioned Jacob deGrom missing barrels, and how much that helped him on the mound. Well, in this case, Christian Yelich is making more barrel contact and was even in the top 3% of the league this past season. On your screen now, you can see just how much more Yelich is making barrel contact. A combination of a higher barrel percentage and higher launch angle is a huge recipe for success when discussing power. I won't go into too much detail with this next reasoning because it's covered well in Eddie Matz's ESPN article, which states that he's been, quote, ambushing pitchers, homering more times on the first pitch than every other player in Major League Baseball. These factors have had a large part to play in Yelich's evolution, an evolution which brought about one of the greatest seasons in Brewers franchise history in the year 2019. 2019 was easily Yelich's best season, so let's do what any rational person would do and compare it to one of the best players to ever exist. Christian Yelich and Mike Trout were both injured by season's end, and played in 130 and 134 games in 2019 respectively. Here's how their 2019 seasons line up offensively. With 4 fewer games played and 17 fewer plate appearances, Yelich beat Trout in most offensive categories. He only had 1 fewer homer and struck out at pretty much the same rate. That's the kind of 2019 season Christian Yelich had. Adding Bellinger to the mix as well, you can see that Yelich was almost identical to him, and certainly could have overtaken him had he been on the field by the end of the season. I don't think it's controversial to say that Yelich is a top 5 hitter in baseball right now, or saying he's probably even in the top 3, maybe even top 2. Here's where Yelich ranks among Major League hitters since the 2018 regular season began. According to Fangraphs, he was 3rd in homers, 2nd in ISO, 1st in batting average, 2nd in WRC+, 2nd in WOBA, and 4th in WAR. Talk about going from relative rags to riches. I personally just can't wait to see if he can do it again in 2020. I, along with many others, are expecting more firepower from one of baseball's biggest stars, and I look forward to seeing him healed and ready to go when baseball begins only a few months from today. From the 3rd best outfielder on the Marlins to a top 3 player in all of baseball, Christian Yelich has taken his career down a completely different path than some had predicted years earlier. I certainly hope that after watching this, you have a greater appreciation for what this man does on the field, because I know that I do. So the intro I did earlier will probably get this video demonetized pretty soon, so if you'd like to support this series or the channel itself, you can become an SRS channel member for either $2.99 or $4.99 a month, which includes perks like progressive badges next to your name in the comment section in any live streams that we do, video sneak peeks, and end screen shoutouts during every single video. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this analysis. I'm going to be doing the next poll for the 3rd episode on my Twitter account very soon. I'll be alternating the series between pitchers and position players, so if you'd like to vote for which of these 4 pitchers I should cover next, head over to my Twitter account and await the next poll. You can click the link in the description or follow @SRSMatt on Twitter directly. Thank you all very much for watching and for your continued support. Share this video on social media if you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you in another video very, very soon.